podcasts, the first like 50 episodes, when you get past that, everyone's like, don't listen to the first, don't listen to our first one.
Yes,
Like,
always.
We said problematic stuff, and so
Yeah.
if you want to get any problematic opinions out, now's the time. Like, if you have the really hot takes, you know, we only have a couple of episodes to get those out of the way.
That's great. Yeah. Hot takes.
Yeah.
Problematic hot takes.
Problematic hot takes. I gotta say, fuck nacho cheese Doritos. Cool Ranch is the only good one.
You know what? I legitimately agree. I 100% agree.
Thank you.
When I was growing up, that was our special party food, Cool Ranch Doritos.
I love it. Okay, Taco Bell got rid of all of their Doritos products, which is insane to me.
I wasn't even aware they had Doritos products.
Okay, well, okay, boomer.
I'm aware of Taco Bell. I've heard of Taco Bell.
I keep having conversations with people where I'm like, oh, let's hit the Taco Bell, and then they're like, I haven't eaten Taco Bell in 10 years. I'm like, all right, you think you're better than me?
Well, we also live in Southern California, where
You can get real tacos.
like you can get actual good Mexican food, and not
Taco Bell isn't Mexican food. It's you get a crunch wrap.
You know what? That's fair. Don't consider it's a different category.
Yeah, I don't consider it on the same level. Sometimes you just want to fill your body with trash, and that's okay.
You know what? I think we're podcasting. I think we're actually podcasting
We're doing
now.
a
I know, right?
podcast. Wow. Wait, do you have any problematic hot takes?
Oh, let's see. I feel like I don't have hot takes. I just have bad opinions.
I mean, if Twitter is anything to go by, hot takes are literally just bad opinions.
Yeah. This is not a hot take.
Cold take? Lukewarm take?
You know, okay, here's something I don't like. I don't like it when, all right, this is an old person opinion. I don't like it when Trader Joe's names their pasta sauce like Trader Giuseppe's or their salsa Trader Jose's. I feel like it's trying too hard. I think
it feels a little like regressive also.
right. Yeah, it feels very performative in a way that is unflattering.
Yeah, I haven't been to Trader Joe's in a long time because I'm weak-willed and I'm a baby, and I go through that like candy cookie aisle, and I'm like, oh, but it's only $2 and it's gonna be gone in 24 hours if it's in my home. But like I always thought that like everybody was really friendly, and not to say that they're not, but I found out that like the store policy is they have to comment on like one item when you're checking out. Like it's like mandatory. Yeah, they have to either be like, oh, I haven't tried that yet, but I want to try it, or like, oh, I just love this thing.
You're blowing my mind right now. I can't believe they actually do that. Yes, they do. Yeah,
because they do it every time.
They
and you're
totally
like,
do.
Oh wow, what a lovely little.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm boycotting Trader Joe's for being nice.
I think well, this is a whole separate podcast. Then this is like Trader Joe's deep dive, right? Where we really get inside.
This will be our side podcast where we sample every single item at Trader Joe's.
Oh my god, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Trader. Look, don't get me wrong. Look, we are looking for sponsorships for this podcast.
Yeah.
Trader Joe's. I disagree with your naming decisions about some of your products, but if you want to give us money to advertise on this podcast,
and if you want to give us some of those products that we have issues being named that, like,
we will reverse course on that decision immediately.
We'll eat them. I mean, that's a great naming. Perfect. Amazing.
Yeah. So we hit record and we're talking. So I think we are actually
doing a podcast,
doing this. So
which is very strange. As two like LA comedy people, just kind of entering that world of now we get to make very hyper specific jokes about areas in LA that will not travel even remotely past like 3 miles.
That's right. That's the point of doing a podcast in LA, talking about traffic.
Yeah, you ever been to that Whole Foods 365 on Glendale Boulevard?
I have, in fact, many times.
That parking lot is like hipster Mad Max with Priuses.
So yeah, this is our first episode. We're trying to figure this out. What exactly we're going to be doing with this? We have a bunch of things. We said we were going to do a 20-minute or 30-minute episode. Probably already this is going to be 2.5 hours. I can just tell from the opening banter.
Yes.
But the basic idea, we're going to try out a bunch of different stuff to start out here. Is that a plane? Can you hear something? Oh, I think someone might be mowing a lawn nearby. Welcome to Los Angeles. Oh, wait, no, it's a car. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Well, we just need to get, like, sirens going and then people screaming.
Yes, that's right.
Then that'll be the true experience.
Do you want to hear something really fucked up? Like,
boy, do
really
I.
fucked up?
Boy, do I.
Okay, so we have neighbors next door to us that have young children and one of which has a severe peanut allergy. Now, our other neighbors, and this is really fucked up.
Peanut farmers?
It's actually worse than that. Our other neighbors, and them, are like hate each other for whatever fucking reason. I don't even want to get into it. I don't really know what the nature of the dispute is. It's like they hate each other. Mm-hmm. So the neighbor without the kids, knowing that one of now I'm just saying neighbors, so it's probably confusing what's happening. There's neighbors with kids, one of which has a peanut allergy, and there's neighbors without kids. One of the neighbors without kids, hold on, take a drink of water. Knowing that the kid had peanut allergy, started chucking peanuts over the fence into their yard, to the yard of the kid with the peanut allergy.
What the fuck?
What the fuck indeed, right? Can you imagine?
I'm like truly imagining you like leaning out the window with binoculars, like Rear Window style, and like you're gonna witness the.
I know.
We're on the first episode of the podcast, and I'm already referring to the like prospective murder of a child.
Welcome to late night.
Yeah. It's also like 2 p.m. on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's always 10 p.m. Going great.
But yeah, like we found out about this months after it happened, and Rachel and I were as were our neighbors with the children, horrified.
Yeah.
And like that's what that's called is murder or attempted murder, I guess. The kids, but by the way, the kid is totally fine. Like nothing happened. The kid didn't even get sick. Like the parent just noticed that peanut shells. Oh, here's the other stupid thing. So parent went over to the neighbor who was throwing the peanuts and was like, "Are you fucking throwing peanuts into my yard?" And the other neighbor said, "No, they just fell from those peanut trees." I can't. I feel bad laughing about this, but what a fucking horrible, dumb excuse. Yeah, those awful. Peanut trees.
Also, like eating raw peanuts is not a great time. Like if you're in a bar and you're drunk and they're like, "Oh, would you like some peanuts?" And you're like, "Wow, it's work to get to these. I'm up for the challenge." But just like casually, like why would I?
Well, that's the other thing is they were probably roasted peanuts too, right? Like,
yeah.
Come on. Anyway, the kids are fine. We're gonna get hate messages about this, I'm sure, but that's the goal.
Why? We're not like, yeah, throw the peanuts.
So the first official stand of the Late Night Podcast, we are against child murder. Strongly against. All right, so we're going to try out a bunch of different segments here. One thing we wanted to start out first doing, and we're probably going to do this every week, is basically give people advice about stuff in their lives. So,
which I think no other podcast is doing right now, which I think is really wild. And I was thinking I have a name for this bit.
Yes, go.
That I'm going to audition.
Okay, great.
My Brian and Me.
Oh, I love it. Very original.
Nobody's ever done that before. So
that's great.
Let's.
In fact, we should name the podcast that. That'd be great.
My God, yeah.
Do you want to pick one of these? We got actually a lot of submissions, which is great.
And they're all fascinating.
Yes. So
thank you for taking the time to write in. And also, I'm sorry that literally everyone deals with awkward stuff all the time.
Yeah. So that's the theme. That is the theme of this week is awkward situations. We asked you guys to send us awkward situations that you're dealing with in your lives, and we're going to read them. Now, for this one, we might change this in the future. We're going to anonymize all these. So we're not going to say who these situations are from. We're not going to read names. We're just going to read the questions and then answer them.
Also, if you write in the future, please include your pronouns in there.
Please, yeah.
We don't want to refer you by the wrong thing.
That's
on
exactly
accident.
Right. All right. Why don't you pick one that you like and read it?
Okay, I'm going to pick my favorite one.
Okay.
So, this is from Anonymous. I recently went on a date with this girl, and she came to the date in a crazy-ass neon fur coat, neon green pants, and a bug juice hat.
What? Okay. Well, finish and then I'm...
Yeah, okay. So after the date, we agreed to not go on another, but I was really excited beforehand and told my whole family about her, and now they're all asking about how it went. Should I tell them honestly how it went, or brush it off and just tell them I wasn't into her or something? IDKY, but I'm ashamed to say how it really went. First of all, what's a bug juice hat?
My exact question. Do you know what a bug juice hat is?
No. Is it a typo for like a bucket hat? Because that kind of sounds like the thing that you would wear with crazy neon.
Okay, I'm gonna Google this. Hold on.
Bug juice hat.
Bug juice hat.
Okay, I don't know if this is a thing that bothers you, but on podcasts where like a question comes up and they're like, I don't really know what that is. Okay, moving on. And it's like, oh, you could just Google it.
It looks like now this is gonna come as a shock to you. A hat that says bug juice on it. It's a brand.
So it is. The first thing that is coming up is bug juice bucket hats. So I was sort of, wait, what's bug juice?
I don't know, but see, look at this. I'm showing Layden the picture now of a purple hat that says bug juice on it.
Only $10.
Yeah, I don't know what this is.
What is bug juice?
Okay, well, anyway, it's obviously not a great hat.
This is why they don't do it on podcasts, because it's not interesting.
Neon fur coat. Also, can we just neon fur coat?
Okay, first of all, my first take on this is, buddy, slide me this girl's number, because this is just me. If a date showed up in this outfit, I'd be like, hell yeah.
I was thinking about this. You are much more qualified and adept at dealing with this than I would, but I feel like so much of fashion is just making a choice and then sticking to it, right?
Well, there's something like very attractive about somebody who is confident enough and like, knows what they like and doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
like
totally.
That is such a delightful thing that would immediately make me be very on board with it.
Yeah. Totally.
Also, sounds like she's serving a look. Like, this sounds great. I want to see this outfit.
But the point is that it sounds like now the writer doesn't really get into this, but it sounds like the date went badly just because of this outfit. Are you picking up on that from this too?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that we agreed to not go on another because of that, I mean, it
doesn't really specify.
I guess, okay, my overall thing with not being able to ask follow-up questions is clearly you guys weren't into it.
That's right.
And so that's fine. Whatever your reason was, it's not fine. Or, it's fine. That was a slip of the tongue.
But the awkward, yeah, totally. Like if you're not into it, you go on a date, it's not working out. Don't go on another one. It's no one.
I mean, that's how dating works. Like, especially with dating apps and stuff. Like, you just got to keep throwing stuff at the wall until something sticks.
That's exactly right. So, but the situation specifically here is: should this person tell their family the real reason that the date didn't work out, or should they just kind of, what was it, brush it off?
Yeah, I mean, well, this person kind of said their solution, which is, do I just tell them that I wasn't into it? And it really depends on your relationship with your family, because if your family, you feel like they're going to be dicks to you if you say that this was the reason, then just say you weren't into it. But
yeah, your family is not entitled to know the reason.
If your family has a sense of humor, and this can be a thing that you can like bond over by being like, oh yeah, she showed up in like an outfit that I wasn't really digging.
Yeah.
Which totally. Now that I put it like that, I understand why he doesn't want to say it. So, I don't think there's anything wrong with like whatever your reason is for like not wanting to pursue something. You don't have to tell your whole family the exact reason. You can just be like, yeah, didn't really work. Whatever.
Yeah, and if it's one date, you're going to move on to something else. Another thing, at least for me, like I didn't date that much. Mm-hmm. I know that probably comes as a shock to all of you. But like literally, so to me, having one date was a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
Because I didn't go on that many dates. I'm totally not confident when it came to any kind of romantic anything. And going on one date, like that was not like hey, it's another week, I'm going on another 5 dates. It was like maybe once every many months. It was like, oh, I'm going on a date with someone who, and that was after like many years of like literally not dating at all.
Oh yeah. So, I'm honestly very much the same way. Like I'm just like, I'm busy. I don't go outside. I don't meet people. And then, you totally place more importance on it. And so I can see that maybe that's the case for this person, especially if, they told their family about it, which
right,
is
so
totally, if you're excited.
Deal,
yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad that we're giving relationship advice with both of us being like, we don't date.
Yes, and I've been married for almost 13 years at this point. So yeah, I'm totally unqualified. Can you hear that dog? I hear a dog going off. Totally unqualified to be giving dating advice to literally anybody.
Yes, we're not. If you follow our advice, it was bad advice. We are not liable.
That's right.
Maybe instead of my Brian and me, this should be like, don't listen to us.
Bad advice.
Bad advice. This is great. I'm such a nosy person. I spend so much time on Reddit reading like our relationships and legal advice and Am I the Asshole? Like that's my morning reading to wake up. Just like,
Am I the Asshole is so compelling.
Oh, it's fascinating. I don't even care if it's fake. It's just, even if you're doing creative writing, great. Love it.
There's still great pieces.
Also, Redditors give such bad advice. That's like half the fun.
Uniformly.
Sort by that's the best Reddit experience. Sort by controversial.
I was just thinking about, do you ever watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
No, actually.
That is Am I the Asshole? The show. Yeah. It's literally a whole show where someone self-righteously feels like they've been wronged, but is a complete monster.
The other night I played a really fun game with Vernon, where Vernon, co-creator of Dream Daddy, Game Grumps Man, etc., who is a close friend of mine. we were playing this game where we went through like whatever the top Ask Reddit thread was of the day, and we had 5 minutes to find the wildest thing on somebody's profile who had posted. And so there was actually something very compelling about that, of just sort of like the quiet tragedy of random people on the internet, of just seeing what their post history was like, or them saying something really, really wild in a comment, and then you go to their profile and see that like this is a thing that they've been struggling with, and it totally makes sense why they have that take, even though it's whack. But highly recommend. Interesting game.
I love that.
Or just like find the worst take in a thread.
Worst. That, you know what? That's a good segment. Worst take. Maybe we'll do that in the future. I love that.
See, because I think Brian and I were talking about before doing this podcast that we need to find stuff that we disagree about. So we can get into fights on air.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so we should do that, because I think we would differ on what the worst takes are.
We have a few more questions we want to get to. I'll read this next one, also from Anonymous. How would you deal with being picked on by a teacher or professor when you don't actually know the answer to the question, or just generally don't understand what's going on and would rather discuss it in private so you don't seem like an idiot in front of a room full of people? Extra points if you can advise on how to get out of the horrid, all caps, sorry, just got to breathe there, horrid situation where they continuously press you while boring into your brain with their expectant teachery eyes, parentheses, I'm looking at you, Brian. Okay, so I think my understanding of this question is this is in a classroom setting, and a professor is asking, like, kind of poking, not physically, but pestering a student, like, what about this? Like, asking a question. How do you get out of it? Like, okay, so I was a professor for a while, and if you don't know, just say you don't know.
Yeah. And I think it's a good professor will understand that, because the fact that you don't know isn't necessarily a reflection on how much you're paying attention, but that they're not explaining it in a way that clicks with you. And I also think that there's a big difference between if it's a teacher like you're in high school or middle school, or if it's a professor when you're in college, because Those are two very different dynamics. If it's a teacher that you have to see every day and they're picking on you, that's so rough.
One thing that, what do I want to say about this? If you're preparing as well as you could possibly be prepared, if you show up to class prepared, that's a very different situation from showing up to class unprepared. And it's hard for me to tell from the person who's asking the question, if this is someone who is not doing the work and is kind of embarrassed about not doing the work, or is doing the work and just keeps getting asked questions that, but legitimately don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
When I was a professor, I would occasionally ask questions to, or a high school teacher, although that was a long time ago for me, so I don't quite remember how I dealt with it. But as a professor, I'd ask questions of the classroom and see what they said. If they didn't know it, that's kind of the point, I guess. Like, you ask questions that people might not know the answer to. And then if nobody knows, or I should say again, not again, but I should say that sometimes it's not that people don't know, they just don't want to say it.
Yeah, because they don't want to risk being wrong. And if you have like an aggressive teacher who's going to pick on you for not knowing, of course you don't want to risk being wrong and have them like mock you. And as they said, look stupid in front of a room full of people. Yeah.
But I think if you don't know, like, it makes it worse by drawing it out. If you say you don't know and the teacher or professor keeps pushing you, they shouldn't be doing that. Like, they can try to guide you through an answer.
Yeah, their job is to teach you, not punish you for them not doing their job enough where you don't know what's happening.
Yeah, totally. Like I mean, how you get out of it, you only have so much control over that situation. There's an innate power dynamic there where the professor is in charge and you are, kind of taking it. But a good professor, if you say, I don't know, will move on and ask, may try to guide you down a path a little bit, but hopefully they would just be like, okay, I'll explain it to you, or ask someone else.
Yeah, and I think the person said in the email, like, I would rather discuss this privately. And I think it is totally acceptable to either come up to them after class or even say it when they call you out if they're doing it a lot. Like, I know that it's, frustrating for you that I don't understand this, but I think this indicates that I need a little bit of extra help.
But I also would defend the right of professors and teachers to ask difficult questions and try to guide you towards an answer. In other words, to not let things drop right away.
Yeah.
So it very much depends on, class size and a million other variables we don't know. But I also think it's totally fine for the professor to push a little bit.
Yeah.
And
but there's a difference between pushing, and maybe this is just because I had several teachers who were so like this to the point where it just felt like they wanted you to fail.
yeah, that's bad.
But I think more than anything, you having a conversation with this teacher about it or professor will help you understand the situation more, because if you tell them your concerns or ask for help and then they're not receptive to it, that's not a you problem. That's a them problem.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't necessarily make it easier for you. Like,
No.
you might have to deal with that situation until the class is over, but...
But you don't have to feel like super terrible about it of like, oh, I'm doing something really wrong. Like, it's clearly their issue.
Yeah, and also remember, if you don't know the answer, probably most people don't know the answer either, right?
Yeah.
If you're in a room full of people and you're getting asked a hard question, people aren't gonna know that. I remember being in countless physics classes in grad school and being asked questions like the professor would ask the class, and the class is like 10 people or something like that.
Yeah.
Some like quantum field theory, some advanced like physics question, and you're learning the stuff for the first time. It's a complicated subject. You have no idea what the fuck is going on. Like half this stuff that I learned in grad school, I didn't really understand it till like 5 years later anyway. So like, don't feel bad about not knowing stuff. The whole point of learning is not knowing stuff. All right, let's find another.
Yeah. Do you want me to read it? Do we want to do
Sure.
the boomer question?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, cool. So this email from Anonymous says, I'm 22 years old and I just started my very first full-time office job. I work in data entry slash organization, so most of my colleagues are much older than me. How do I navigate interactions and conversations with them without getting really weird looks and awkward pity laughs? Especially if they ask about my hobbies, my love for horror movies slash true crime, comedy podcasts and music, and making weird meme art.
Did you write this question?
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. As a fellow 22-year-old who works with a lot of people who are like at least 10 years my senior. Yeah, that's a good question. And I think the big thing is it's finding the common ground and being curious about people. Because if you're in a conversation with somebody and, they're kind of like laughing off what you're interested in, everybody loves to talk about themselves, and asking questions about the other person to just, if you don't want to talk about it and you feel like they're going to judge you, like just flip it and ask them about their lives or their work. And you kind of find the common ground that like everybody kind of has not hot takes, but opinions on.
Everybody has hot takes. Yeah, I think it's fair to say everybody has hot takes.
Some hotter than others. But a thing that I'm almost always able to start a good conversation about is food. We all got to eat it.
Yep.
So you got to eat it. Like, that's one thing. There's no way that you're going to bring up food and they're going to be like, don't know what you're talking about.
Also, movies. Like,
Movies.
everyone watches movies.
Yeah.
I mean, probably there's some weirdos out there that don't. I use the term weirdos with love. Let's just be clear about that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are some people out there that don't. But 99% of people are going to watch movies.
Yeah.
So you can always talk about that. Horror movies, yes, okay, that's kind of a loaded thing. Certainly not everyone likes it. But
yeah, and certainly as somebody who is very, very into true crime and horror stuff, not everybody wants to hear about dismemberment. So like maybe roll that one back. As I've had to do many times. But I think thankfully I'm around a lot of people who are also into that stuff. And so being like, yeah, I watched this horror movie, it was really fucked up. And like the practical special effects, it was just like, wow, the arm flopped over when it got cut. It's like medically accurate. I'm talking about Green Room. Just asking for their opinions on things, even if you don't agree with them, or, there are general questions you can ask, like, have you learned anything interesting lately? Or, have you traveled anywhere? Like, I think there are a lot of like very neutral things that you can find to talk about, as long as, I guess my whole point here is like being curious about other people.
Yeah. Also, bear in mind, some people suck to talk to.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Some people you just don't want to be having a conversation with, and don't do it. So if there's some, like, it is okay to avoid people.
Yeah.
Right? So if there are people that you just can't seem to have a good conversation with, don't talk to them.
Also, it's work. You don't have to be best friends with everybody.
You don't need to start talking about personal stuff or whatever. Like, yeah, if there's people that you just aren't going to click with, which will happen in any work environment, just don't talk to them.
Yeah, and I think, maybe think less about the age differential, because, just like relate to them like you're a peer, because you are, and the age thing doesn't really matter, even though that means there will be differences in the way they respond to things or your experiences. But I think that's an opportunity to, learn from somebody who's older. I mean, I'm half your age. We're doing a podcast.
We're doing a podcast. Yeah.
We're friends. We hang out. It's nice.
But
we have lots of things
but
to
we
talk
also
about.
treat each other as peers.
Yes.
Which is probably not something that is as easy in a work environment, right?
Yes.
You and I can interact on a level where we co-created the show, we're co-creating a podcast, like we're doing this exactly on the same level. But that's a more fraught thing in a work environment where there are power dynamics at play that don't exist in what you and I do. Okay, so here's another one. This one I really relate to, as I think a lot of people will too. Have you ever taken so long to get back to somebody, as in an email, phone call, etc., that it becomes awkward, and you fear that a late reply might remind them of how monumentally bad you are at communicating, so you just resolve to ignore that situation indefinitely? It's been 4 years since I spoke to this person, and it still weighs on me. I'm certain that if I run into them at a grocery store, I'll die of embarrassment. Okay. So I very much relate to this one, and I'm laughing, not at your situation, but in sympathy, because I have 100% done this.
Yep. And I think it's one of those things where everybody does. I don't know anybody who doesn't do this or have those people that they haven't responded to, or like they haven't even opened the message and it's just been sitting there 100%. Haunting them, and then you just feel guilty about it. But I think it's less, everyone's so worried about that they're not thinking about the people who have not responded to them, and they just forget about it.
Yep. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say is exactly that. Everybody does this. Literally everybody does this. For me, it's always the people I care about the most are the ones I do it to the worst. Because you get some email from a close friend. It's like, actually, I have one in my inbox right now. An email from a close friend I got, I think it was about 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I love this person. We don't get to see each other that much. She lives in San Francisco. And I've been meaning to email her back, but I can't do it unless I can sit down and like write a fucking thing.
Yeah.
And this is a person I like, is a very close friend. We've known each other for a long time now. Relationship matters to me, and that's literally why I'm taking so long to respond to this email. One piece of advice that someone gave me, which was really, really useful, I think I read this in a book actually, was anything you can do in under 2 minutes, do it right away.
Yes,
and
I have also read that.
Such great advice.
Yeah, the one that I always hit myself with is if the time that you've spent worrying about it has been longer than it takes to do it, just do it immediately.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Do I follow that advice? No. Fuck no.
No, neither do I.
I'll parrot it at people all day long, but I'm not doing that shit.
For me, I don't know if you're like this, but I will always. So I'll have these like it's 99% of the time it's emails, not phone calls. If it's a phone call, I mean, honestly, if I don't call you back right away, I'm not calling you back. Like pretty much end of story.
Okay, sidebar as a generational thing. Do you like making phone calls, or is it like just super easy for you? If it's a phone call, you'll just do it.
If I have to do it, I'll do it, but I prefer not to do it.
Fuck phone calls. They're awful, because I feel like it's a thing now where it is a huge like blanket anxiety hurdle. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because like if you grew up on the internet or you have smartphones and most of your communication is done through text, it's very stressful to do a thing where like you can't premeditate on it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like I'll have to write myself scripts of what I'm going to say, and that's even like calling the pharmacist of like, okay, my name is late, I need a refill, and like, you know, it feels very wrapped up in like worrying what this random person is going to think of you, and it's like,
yeah, totally,
it doesn't matter. It's their job to take your call.
It is definitely true that, so as I said, I'm 44. You know, when I was in high school and stuff, then it was all phone calls. Yeah. Talking to people on the phone a lot. And then by the time I, let's say, got into like when I was in like college, you know, early, like late teens, early 20s, then it started to be, well, so college, you just saw everybody. It was after college. That was the like, hey, I'm going to write really long emails to my friends all the time phase. I don't know. Are you too young for that?
I feel like for me, that was middle school. Even with friends that I'd see every day, we would just write really long emails back and forth. Right. I think partially because my parents would get mad at me if they knew I was instant messaging. So I had like the guilt about it where I was like, well, if it's an email, that's formal. I'm using proper syntax.
Yeah. But see, of course, I'm too old for that, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have, I mean, I'm not bragging, but when I was 13, I did sign up for CompuServe and, which was a big deal at the time with my 24.4 BPS modem. But like, yeah, so I'm too old for that. But once I had college friends and then we graduated from college. So when I was in my early mid 20s, then that was the era of like long fucking emails, like paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs to people, occasional phone calls, but pretty much all my close friends and I communicated more over email than phone. And so even at my age, mid 40s, most of my interaction was done digitally with a pre-planned thing.
Absolutely. And like, it's easy to have a conversation with a friend, but when it's a call that you have to make, it's difficult. We have gotten so far away from the actual question but I think the whole point is that like being avoidant about that stuff, especially with social media and always having your phone on you and people expecting you to have your phone on you, so much stuff falls through the cracks because it is a constant barrage of people who need stuff from you.
Yep.
Or, just shiny things, like very distracted. And I think the best thing to do, because you're talking about, it's been 4 years or whatever, this person has forgotten about this. I guarantee you this is like, those things where you lie in bed thinking about a thing that happened years ago, like super embarrassed about it. And you're just like, oh my God, they just must
That person doesn't even remember it.
Not at all. I've brought things up years later to apologize and they're like, wait, did that happen? I got really advice from a Reddit comment one time that was like, think of the last time that you did something in front of people that you care about that you were really embarrassed by. Think about a specific person that you know. When was the last time they did a really embarrassing thing, or, the level of what you've done? You don't remember. I can't think of anything. Like, I don't pay that much attention to other people's, like, what they perceive as gaffes or whatever. Right. But anyway, to answer the question, if this is a person that you feel like, you're just bringing it up again or whatever, literally just send them a thing like, hey, I'm so sorry that I didn't get back to you. I was thinking about you and I would love to, chat or hang out or whatever. Like, it's that easy. And there's almost like that good feeling of
ripping off the Band-Aid kind of.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Just be honest about it. And, I think that person probably also has people that they haven't responded to in a long time. It feels like such a blanket thing. Thank you, everybody who sent in emails. Sorry to the people that we didn't get to. Hopefully we can revisit some of those older ones in future episodes. And to all the people whose questions that we answered, A, hope we helped. B, take care of yourselves. Dealing with awkward situations is really stressful, and it's a thing that, like, it's like death and taxes in awkward situations. You're never going to be fully free of them.
Constant, yeah.
So, be nice to yourself. Be patient with yourself. It's okay to be anxious about it because, that's being a human. Ignoring a feeling has never made it go away.
That's right. And if you... Sorry, go ahead, please.
No, you please.
I was going to say, if you guys have other questions, you hear this, and you want our advice on anything, email. The email is LeightonKnight, LeightonNight, Leighton Knight.
You were the first person who's ever spelled it right.
Bam, got it. So yeah, email us any questions you have. Also, we'd love to hear from you. This is our first time doing this. I don't know if this was like way too long or these answers were too rambly or that's what people are into or whatever. Love to hear what you guys think about what we've said so far, and if it's like any advice from no, please, more digressions, like or shut up and get to the point, like answer the fucking question, guys. That's great. It's all helpful.
Or like, do you prefer a long podcast or do you want a little bite-sized thing that you can listen to during lunch? Because personally, I love a long podcast. When somebody posts a 2-hour podcast, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to clean my apartment and laugh at some bits.
See, I'm exactly the opposite. I have too many hour-plus podcasts that I listen to right now. And like anytime I see a 10-minute podcast that someone posts, I'm like, oh, thank fucking God, I can just listen to it.
That means I'm never going to listen to it. So
we're exactly the opposite on this. Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't know how people are. We should do like a poll on Twitter or something. But I think something interesting about that is I'm an artist. And also, just I need something to zone out to, or just I'm not always doing like writing programming stuff. And then I just want to hear music. But a lot of times when I'm doing art, it's like I'm in this for the long haul. I'm going to be working on this illustration for 9 hours. Let me queue up 9 hours of podcasts, and it's easy to just grab stuff.
Whereas I'm writing music, and I can't listen to podcasts while I write music. Yeah.
Well, and then there's also where it's too much. Like Dan Carlin, bless him, I'm not going to listen to him talk like this for 4 hours. And I don't want to, put it on 2x speed because then it sounds weird to me. So sound off in the comments below a thing that people don't say anymore.
You know what this would be a good opportunity for, and this is kind of something we wanted to get into too, is we thought it'd be fun. Occasionally people ask us, at least individually, not together necessarily, but like what's something you're into right now, that sort of thing. Why don't we let's pick one podcast, let's say each.
Oh yeah.
And recommend it to people, because also I love supporting awesome things that people are doing, and there's so many amazing things that are going on right now. So what's a podcast that you really like?
I kind of want to pull one that isn't as popular. Like,
yes.
I love Last Podcast on the Left. Either you really hate that show or you really, really like it. So I won't go for that one. The one that I've been really enjoying lately for comedy is Doughboys.
I hear that's great.
Yeah, Mike Mitchell and Nick Weiger get a variety of different comedians on, and they review chain restaurants. So it's very like silly, lighthearted stuff. If you want like a good entry point, obviously you can find one with a comedian that you like. One of my favorite episodes is with John Hodgman. They go to the Delta Sky Lounge, and they record it in the Delta Sky Lounge. It's fantastic. It's so funny. I mean, it's like what I said earlier, talking to people about food is really easy. So it's just kind of fascinating to hear people talk about their history with stuff, and super funny. They actually did a Doughboys double where they played Dream Daddy and then they talked about it.
They really? They played Dream Daddy on Doughboys?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
They
That's
made
awesome.
a tie-in shirt of like Dream Mitchie, which was like the art.
Really?
Yes.
No way.
I refuse to. I cannot listen to the episode. It makes me so nervous. It's out. It's like I can listen to it on Spotify. Our good friend
so great.
Jory, who is the narrative designer on Dream Daddy, listened to it and said that they only had positive things to say.
So great.
I cannot bring myself to do it.
Wow.
Maybe one day I will get there.
You should. Did you read Hodgman's latest book, Medallion Status?
No, I haven't read any of his books. I think I was gifted one a while ago and I just never touched it.
He has 2 books of essays, Vacation Land and Medallion Status, which are, they're just beautiful. They're wonderful. They're funny. They're smart. He's a great writer. I can't recommend them highly enough. They're kind of poignant, both in different ways. I love both of them, so I definitely recommend those.
Right.
Podcast wise, I mean, as you said, there's a million like super popular ones I could talk about. One I think that I just started listening to is a music podcast. I think my friend who is really into yacht rock, Andrew, I'm talking about you. I'm also really into yacht rock. Recommended this to me, and it's just awesome. It's this podcast by Tony Thaxton called Bizarre Albums, and he picks a weird or interesting or unusual album every week. It's like a 20-minute podcast once a week, and he does backstory and talks about the album. He plays tracks from it. It's done. He's not mocking them. It's done out of a place of, wow, check out this wild thing.
God, I love that
and
attitude.
It's great.
And there's not enough of that on the internet. It feels like everything is so punch downy, and like you can appreciate something for being weird without shitting on it, especially if it's like this thing was made sincerely. I don't want to shit on a thing that like was somebody's pride and joy.
Totally. Yep. And I love like there's so much interesting stuff out there that was made earnestly. And did I just step on a microphone? Made earnestly and from a positive place that deserves to be looked at. And, some of the stuff actually is like I find constantly that there's stuff that I hated, 20 years ago.
Yeah. That
is now my favorite stuff. And actually a lot of like yacht rock, kind of like adult contemporary music. Look, I recognize I'm a 44-year-old white man. So
listen, you're chilling.
This isn't my thing.
You're having a brew. You want to pretend to be on a boat?
But when I was a kid, I remember listening to Stevie Wonder, like You Were the Sunshine of My Life, being like, that cheesy bullshit. And I can't imagine that I ever thought that now, because that stuff is so good. And the other thing, at least with a lot of the like really cheesy, schmaltzy, smooth jazz, yacht rock stuff is now being deeper into my music career, I can appreciate the technical prowess that went into making it in a way that I couldn't when I was like 15 or whatever.
Totally. I had that same turnaround. I feel like all the bands that I really, not all of them, but a lot of bands that I really love now were ones that I hated initially. And I think a lot of them boiled down to the lead vocalist having a weird quote unquote weird voice. When I was, younger, Hated the Mountain Goats. I hated the Decemberists. I hated Regina Spektor. Anybody with like a weird voice, I was not into it.
Really?
And now, literally, like John Darnielle's voice, Colin Malloy's. I love the Decemberists. Like, fuck me up with this hanging out on the docks shit. It's just like
I don't even know it.
you've never listened to the Decemberists?
I mean, I definitely have, but I couldn't tell you any of their songs.
The Mariner's Revenge song, bud.
This, you know what? Okay, here I'm going to propose a bit for the future,
Okay.
not for this week.
Sure.
You and I will recommend songs to each other that we don't know.
Yes.
Listen to them and then come back and talk.
I
about
like
them.
that a lot.
'Cause
Yes.
I bet we could get into some really good stuff.
And then we could do themes for that. Like, what's your favorite 8+ minute song? Which is totally
I've got a lot of them.
heck yeah. I also have a lot of them. I'm referring to the Decemberists, which wouldn't be my favorite one, but you know, it's very like Colin Malloy has a very specific voice, and they just sing about like rastabouts on the docks and stuff. It's like pirate core. But sort of like how Tom Waits is similar. He's like legit Decemberists are the twee hipstery version of that.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay, real quick. Tom Waits, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Both thumbs.
Yes,
if I had a third,
100%
we wrote so many Tom Waits jokes into Dream Daddy for like Robert's Path, just because, so good.
I love Tom Waits very, very much. You know, different things with different levels, but most of it is I'm just so enthusiastic about it. I think the Alice album in particular is one of my all-time favorite albums. It's just gorgeous.
That's a good pull.
And I think a lot of people that I really respect fucking hate Tom Waits.
What the fuck?
It just doesn't work for him.
He's my, I wish my voice sounded like that. And I think I would need to slam a bottle of whiskey and a carton of cigarettes every single day for the rest of my life to get there. But fucking fantastic.
I totally agree. We're on the same page.
I love to, I do, you know, I do my circuit bending stuff, which is taking children's toys and making them evil. I always, like every single time, I must listen to, what is he building?
Oh yeah, what's he building in there?
We have a right to know.
Yes,
I also,
I could probably do a passable Tom Waits impression.
yeah, I
Here,
you know,
I'm going to try one right now. Let me get up to the mic. What's he building in there? Next to the closet. What are those beeps and boops coming from in there? That's pretty good, right?
yeah, that was very good. You like the thing we were talking about earlier is like you have the like back of the throat voice. It's perfect. Nick Cave, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Don't know enough. I will say, I think about 10 years ago, I had a friend that, you know, before streaming, like gave me gave me the whole discography of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. And I listened to a couple albums and it didn't do it for me. I have to go back to it.
Gotcha.
I had the same thing with fucking Zeppelin, where
Interesting.
I listened to I was not a classic rock guy in high school. I was a Weird Al guy. I'm still a Weird Al guy.
I mean, weren't we all?
Weren't we all? But I couldn't get into Zeppelin at all. And in fact, had another friend gave me the whole discography on MP3. I'm not advocating pirating music. Buy your music.
Pirate music.
Don't pirate music. You know what? Actually, I don't fucking care if you pirate music. Just support artists however you're going to support artists. That's all I care about. Pirate music if you're going to, but then buy their merch or something. But yeah, I listened to like the whole Zeppelin thing because I was like, I need to get some classic rock in my background. Listened to a bunch of albums and I was like, nope, not into it. Went back last year and listened to a bunch. And I was like, oh yeah, this rules.
Yeah. It's fantastic that music can hit you at different points in your life. And, you know, especially stuff that like you loved when you were younger. And then as an adult, you look at it and you're like, oh, that wasn't very good. But then it's still it's so enjoyable to listen to because you get that nostalgia hit. But Nick Cave is great. Like all my Tom Waitsy playlists have like a lot of Nick Cave mixed in. I mean, he has a whole album about different murderers.
Oh, right.
It's
right,
wonderful
right.
murder ballads. And his most recent album, Ghosteen, that man has been through some shit. His teenage son died in a really horrific way a couple of years ago.
Oh no.
And so this album is him like processing his grief, and it's like one of the most beautiful things I've ever. I mean, it's so hard to listen to, and I was reading some really interesting articles about how his tours now are like grief counseling. Like it's very intimate, very emotional, like connecting with the audience, and that's incredible.
I don't think I you know, I have a 5-year-old.
Yes.
I cannot listen to or watch stuff where kids get hurt. I can't do it. It just gets me.
Yeah.
And that is really only since I've been a parent. Like Anytime someone, because it's my greatest fear, right? Is something happening to Audrey.
Of course.
And just I know it can happen. I know it's a real thing. I cannot expose myself to stuff where
Yeah, of
kids
course
get
not.
hurt.
Because like if you're an empathetic person, you're automatically putting yourself. I mean, for me, you know, I have a sweet little dog who's a freak and insane, and I love her. And I can't anything with dogs. I cannot handle it.
Yeah.
And so I can't even imagine, you know, having a kid. And I'm so curious about that because so I'm really into horror, and that sort of stuff doesn't really bother me. I like the most extreme of the extreme. I'm a depraved piece of shit, whatever. But I know so many people who were like that, and it was a phase for them, and it lasted until they had kids, and then they just could not stomach it anymore. And I'm always really curious about that. So yeah, that's interesting. So the last segment that we wanted to do, if you've ever been to the late night live show, every show we try to end on an emotional check-in where we just kind of get honest with each other about like, hey, I'm sorry if I said any bits that made you upset, just because a lot of it turns into us insulting each other. And, you know, just like acknowledging that we're like grateful that people came to the show and all that stuff. And so I wanted to incorporate that into the podcast in a sort of more like reined in way. My wonderful aunt and uncle and my nieces do this thing every night at dinner called Peaches and Lemons, where they go around the table and they start with one lemon, which is a thing during the day that was frustrating or that made them mad or that they didn't like. And then they do 3 peaches, which are the opposite of that, and things that you were grateful for or that you really liked or you're excited about. So I would love to end every episode of this podcast with Peaches and Lemons.
I love this.
Where we each share.
I love this so much.
So I guess I'll start just because I am familiar with it. So my lemon is that I took a shower this morning, and I, you know, sometimes end it there.
Right.
I took a shower this morning, and sometimes you get the showers where you're like really contemplative and you're like thinking of creative ideas. And then sometimes you get the shower where you're just ruminating on everything you've ever done wrong. And you're in this like isolation chamber where you're like,
those are dark showers.
Fucking up. Let me think about every person who I think is mad at me. So I had one of those. My 3 peaches are, I got some really nice milk tea today from a place that I like, and they remembered me because I go there too much, and they're like, hey, do you want a bubble waffle? Because they do bubble waffles, and they like specifically got it out for me and made me one, and it was delicious. Second peach, woke up next to my dog, just cuddling in my face. Delightful. And 3, I'm very excited to be doing this podcast, and I feel like the session went really great, and I'm excited to do more of it.
Well, you took one of my peaches. Because that is 100% what I was going to say. But I'll get to that in just a second. But yes, sure. I'm so excited about this. Lemon, this is the most petty, stupid thing.
That's what it's for.
Yes, that's what it's for. I had a breakfast meeting this morning, and I ordered a breakfast sandwich. No, I wasn't meeting a breakfast. It was a meeting over breakfast.
No, I mean, it's just like a breakfast meeting is like, we got to do this early, man.
You know what? I'm up at 6 a.m. every day. I have a kid. Like, it's all, I personally, I love breakfast meetings.
Oh, okay.
It kind of gets it out of the way. But the breakfast sandwich I ordered was on a bun that had too much flour on the outside. You ever have, like, it's like floured bread?
Yeah.
Is it like flour or meal or something like that? And every bite you take, your hands just get coated with these like particles of flour. And you're constantly wiping off your hands, and you feel like I mean, I have facial hair, so it's like flour's all over my beard and stuff. It was a bummer of a way to be talking to someone when you're constantly wiping yourself off.
If I'm doing a big like talking thing during a meeting, I don't want to get a sandwich. I need something I can eat with a fork.
Yes.
But also, okay, slight sidebar. I have a vendetta against everyone using brioche for sandwiches.
Yes, thank you.
Because it's exactly right. Always bad brioche.
Sucks.
It's never like good. You know, if you ever go to 85 degrees in LA, it's just like a nice little like Asian bakery, and you go with your little tray and you pick out your stuff. But they have the best brioche. It's so light and fluffy, and it's what brioche should be. And then you get a burger where like 75% of the burger is disgusting brioche that has been, it's like, ooh, we put black truffle oil on it. It's like, okay, well, this is going to taste like shit now, and I'm going to have to pay $5 more for it because
also,
it's fancy.
Enough with fucking truffle oil. Like,
it's awful.
Done with that. Truffle
it's
fries
so
should be
bad.
stopped. Yes.
No, I just want regular fries, not...
I have one of the Anthony Bourdain cookbooks, and he has a whole thing about like no brioche buns. Fucking stop it with the brioche buns.
Thank God.
And I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right.
So peaches.
Well, one was this podcast. Like I'm so excited to be doing this with you, and I've never done a podcast before.
Neither
like
have I.
We set this thing up. We are in my garage at my house, and the live show we've been doing has been super fun. So I'm psyched to like be starting this up in a different format.
Yeah.
Let's see. Two other peaches. I mean, this is gonna be my peach every time. It's Audrey. It's my 5-year-old daughter. Like, Rachel is away right now. She's on a little work trip, and so it's just me and Audrey for 5 days. So I get to cuddle with her in the morning by myself and be, just be kind of solo dad and feel responsible, like solely responsible for my daughter. And she's such a great, fun kid, even if she did grab another kid by the throat yesterday. But that's okay. It's fine. The kid's fine. It wasn't a big deal. But
yeah, Brian showed me the email. It was
we had a little incident in school. But I love being, just having dad Audrey time. Yeah. And we kind of turned it into a special thing. I gave her a whipped cream sprinkle hot chocolate for breakfast with breakfast to like celebrate the day, and because today was the first day Rachel was away. And she was so happy, and just talking about 5-year-old brain dump kind of stuff, which is what she always does. It was that was really great. My other peach, I guess my third one, is I just finished writing a kids album with my partner in that, but NSP's producer Jim Roach, and we just did the masters of the tracks, and they're so much fun. Hopefully it'll come out in a couple months, but we wrote these silly, interesting, hopefully you guys think they're interesting, I think they're interesting, kid songs that are just kind of like, there's no deep message or anything, they're just kind of silly and stupid and fun. And I play them for Audrey, Jim plays them for his kids, and they're just, it's one of those things, like with NSP, we agonize about these songs we write, try to make everything as funny as possible, and there's a lot of hard thinking about jokes. It was like, well, what if we, had a dinosaur that was tap dancing? Yeah, that'd be awesome. And like trying not to overthink some. We don't actually have a tap dancing dinosaur, but trying not to overthink. Why the fuck not? Well, because there's like 3 other dinosaur songs, and eventually we were like, that's enough dinosaurs.
I mean, when I was a kid, I had a CD that was front to back songs about dinosaurs, and I was obsessed with dinosaurs, so I've listened to it over and over. But one of the last songs on the album was one about where did all the dinosaurs go? Oh. And it was about them dying. And this is on the heels of like, I'm the big bad T-Rex kind of song. And then it's like key change, like total bummer. And every single time I would have like a breakdown. Like I didn't remember that song was on the album, to the point where my parents were like, you cut it off before it gets, we're not doing this every time.
Have you seen, this is a famous thing now, the last episode of Dinosaurs, the old TV show, like with the puppets? Watch it. It'll fuck you up.
I remember,
it's real. It gets real.
God, I mean, there's such a specific vibe to when I was a child, movies whose covers scared me.
Oh,
when I was walking around Blockbuster.
The horror section of our Riverdale Video, which was my local video store in New Jersey, was full of the cover. Now one of my favorite movies, Evil Dead 2. Like the cover of that with the skull with the eyeballs in it. Oh, fuck. That upset me deeply. Also, a movie I know you saw recently, Extra. Oh. The cover for that really messed me up as a kid.
Okay, guys, watch Extra.
Watch Extra.
Just listen. Just go watch it. Don't look up anything about it. Just watch it.
What's the it's like Tommy always wanted to be like his dad when he was growing up, or something like that. I can't remember the kid's name, but
he always wanted to be like his daddy.
Yeah.
What I feel like a lot of the ones that scared me were not horror movies. I mean, I can remember very specifically like One Missed Call, but when I was really little, like The Nightmare Before Christmas really scared me. Pinheads?
Pinheads?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dinosaurs, that even though I love dinosaurs, just like the puppets scared me.
God. For me, the other ones that scared me, and so I was a teen. I was born in 1975, so I was like a teenager in the late 80s, early 90s. All the like weird sex comedies from the early to mid 80s, sort of like Revenge of the Nerds era.
Yeah.
The covers for those are sometimes so weird and disturbing. Like this really detailed art that just I could not wrap my brain around as a kid.
I was such a prude about stuff that like I couldn't even look if I knew there was going to be like sex comedies on the thing. I'd just like speed walk past and be all right, nope, I don't need that sin in my life.
Right, because you're also renting them like with your parents and stuff, and it's like that's
if you rent
hard.
A PG-13 movie on accident with your parents, and then you got to watch a sex scene with your parents.
Nope.
Especially because like I remember seeing my mom and her friend took me to go see 7 Pounds with Will Smith, which is an awful movie, and even at age like 9 or whatever was, I'm gonna spoil 7 pounds for you because
Which
fuck
has been
that
out
movie.
10 years or something.
Yeah,
like
I remember being like, he's gonna kill himself with a box jelly. What kind of bullshit is this? But there's a sex scene in that.
He kills himself with a jellyfish?
Yeah, he has like a cosmetic reasons, like box jellyfish, and then he does it so he can give the 7 pounds or for the organs that he's gonna donate to the people that he wronged.
Okay, great.
But anyway, there's this sex scene, and my mom flipped out the moment it started and threw her purse at my face so I wouldn't have to see it. And then her shit went everywhere, and we were like scrambling around trying to pick it up.
That's
so.
My parents were not very conservative people. I mean, they weren't like super hippie, liberally type people, but they weren't particularly conservative. But they also ended up, they took me and my sister, who's 2 years younger, to see so many R-rated movies when we were like 12 or when I was 12.
That's character building.
Even, it really was. They took me and my sister when I was 11 and she would have been 9 to see George Carlin live at Ramapo College.
This makes so much sense.
So we got like exposed to all this comedy that was way too old for us. Like way too old for us because my dad was a big comedy fan. And most of the stuff he loved was like Mel Brooks, Alan Sherman, like, you know, classic kind of Jewish comedians. But a lot of it was also like, I remember my dad pulled me, I think it was just me because my sister would have been too young, out of school, like picked me up early from school so we could go see Beverly Hills Cop in the theater. And I was way too young for that movie when it came out.
That's
I haven't
delightful.
seen it in forever. Yeah. Like it was the kind of thing where it was like, Brian, come to the principal's office. I was like, all right. I mean, I never got in trouble for anything. So I was like, I don't know what's going on. And he was there and he was like, we're going to go see a movie. And we went to see, my mom was there too, Beverly Hills Cop, middle of the day. Still don't know why. Love that movie.
What an MVP. I mean, when you get called to the office as a kid, it's either very bad or it's very good.
That's right.
It's like, yeah, I brought you McDonald's. You want McDonald's for lunch? It's like, oh, this is the best day of my life. This is the best thing that's ever happened to 7-year-old me. Yep. Or, you know, you walk up and you're like, am I going to get expelled for a thing that I didn't do?
Yeah. Nope. In this case, it was to go see Beverly Hills Cop at the Lowe's at the Willowbrook Mall in New Jersey, which I think that Lowe's is still there. Maybe it's an AMC or something else now. But anyone who knows the Willowbrook Mall in, I think it's Wayne, although I might be wrong about the city, but North Jersey, near Wayne, that's where I saw basically every movie growing up.
God, be sure every none of you who knows what Brian's talking about, just hit us with it.
Yeah. All right. I think we're done.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to this. We're going to do a lot more of these. Let us know what you liked. Let us know what you didn't like. Let us know stuff you want to see. We're trying out a bunch of stuff. The next one of these we do might be completely different. Who the fuck knows? But Layton, I had such a great time doing this.
Yeah, this was lovely.
Thank you for doing this, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
This is the end of the podcast. Goodbye.
I also said next week, but I don't know if it's going to be next week. At some point in the indeterminate future.
Sometime.
Oh, I forgot to say, we have a date for the next show, the next live show.
Yes, we do.
It is, it's March. Hold on, we have to look it up.
We did
Literally
great.
the one thing we should have written down.
It's the 23rd, right?
I think that's right. Let me just really double check that. Do you have it? It's the 23rd?
It's in my calendar, but you should look at the email.
I'm looking at the email.
You should just keep this
23rd, Monday, March 23rd at the Lodge Room here in LA. Where's that? Echo Park? What? Highland Park? Where is that?
We're doing great.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is.
I forget. It's like in some cool neighborhood. Okay. So Monday, March 23rd at the Lodge Room. That's the next Late Night Live. It'll be the two of us, a bunch of other cool people. We haven't booked the guest yet, but we're going to do
Hold
that.
on. You can't say that.
You know what? I'm actually, by the time this goes live, we'll have booked the guest.
Yes.
And so I'll cut something in here.
Or we could leave it in.
Okay. Bye.
Great. Goodbye.
Leighton Night is produced by Brian Wecht and Leighton Gray. For more information, visit LeightonNight.com. That's LeightonNight.com. Our next live show is on Monday, March 23rd at the Lodge Room here in Los Angeles. You can visit LeightonNight.com for tickets. Also, please follow us on social media. On Twitter, we're at Leighton Night, and on Instagram, at Leighton_Night.